Hello and welcome back to another YouTube video. Today I'm doing the patch 13.21 ADC tier list, so if you enjoy the content, like, subscribe, and let's get into it. To begin with, there were not a huge amount of changes this patch. A lot of them were follow-up from the previous patch, and some outliers which were overperforming with certain builds. So let's cover them. For the buffs, we saw Varus gain a bit of W on hit damage. It scales up into the later ranks. It wasn't really anything early game, so it was very minimal. Alongside that, he gained 5% on the E-slow at all ranks, which is not too bad. It's going to help him in certain situations, just more of a util kind of area and not so much of a damage kind of spell. But overall, still not performing to the level which I feel like he should be. He's going to stay in the B tier, just move up a bit. He can he can perform quite well with certain builds, but these builds tend to be overshone by other champions from different kind of variations. So like an on-hit variation, which can work in certain situations, would be outperformed by someone like Cogmore if he was going some sort of on-hit variation. Alongside that, you could go like Vayne on-hit build. Kai'Sa can also opt into an on-hit build. Ashe can also kind of go that route, even though you're mostly sticking to that Kraken Triforce variation, but there are options there. Alongside that, you've got lethality, you've got AP variants. Yeah, he's not performing too bad, but you can definitely see other champions which outperform him in those certain classes. So moving on, Seraphine is going to move up to the S tier. She is performing really well. She had a bunch of adjustments this patch, trying to kind of push her more towards support and mid lane, but overall her ADC win rate still was something which gained the most, so she's moving into the S tier. She really heavily performs quite well with Senna. Alongside that, you can also just run her with normal support, so she does still perform quite well with those. Her build, you can opt into something like Liandry's or Moonstone. I know some people like Moonstone as a more supportive option, alongside Shirelia's and Echoes of Helia. There are options there, but Liandry's is going to be your core for DPS. Alongside that, you can run something like an Archangel's, then a Rylai. Cosmic Drive is really nice for her, as it allows you to rotate combos and stay mobile, so you're not getting caught out in team fights. You can also pick up something like a Zhonya's or a Banshee's. You can also opt into the Rabadons. However, your AP ratios don't really support Rabadons as well as other items. You mostly want haste, which is why you do opt into Lucidities on this champion. But overall, definitely performing to a really high level at the moment, and I definitely recommend picking her up. She will probably be nerfed this patch though, so be wary of that. For nerfs this patch, Jinx saw her passive attack speed get capped, so you can no longer permanently stack it against towers, which was something which people really wanted, as having 30% 30 attack speed going into the final kind of siege on the base can be overwhelming and really not that healthy for the game. So having that capped allows it to not be as snowbally, but still a level of enjoyment, and people can obviously still enjoy this champion. I've never put her in the S tier to begin with, and I still don't think she was an S tier champion. The whole siege thing with the attack speed was kind of niche and wasn't really the core identity of the character, which is why she never made it into the S tier. Obviously a cap on this we saw didn't really adjust her win rate that much, so it kind of shows like it was a very kind of niche circumstance where she would end up in these kind of places. But yeah, overall still performing decently. If you do want to pick up Jinx, she's a perfectly fine champion, performs above average, and yeah, not too bad. The other champ got nerfed is Kate. Kate is kind of hovering low A in high B tier. Her lethality build took a really big hit last patch where she lost base AD on the ult. She lost some attack damage ratio. She lost the cooldown on it, so it goes from 90-60 to just 90 flat. Alongside this, she gained damage, crit scaling on it, and passive scaling on her crit damage as well. Overall, it wasn't a huge amount of compensation for how big the nerf was, but her crit builds stayed kind of afloat, and her lethality builds did take a big hit in win rate. So if that was what they were going for, then they did land pretty successfully. Overall, still in the A tier. Other champs can just lane bully more effectively than Caitlyn at the moment, either because they have more spell range, or they have better combos within like the range, or they can just outright kind of sustain through it and just play around the fact that she will do a bit of harass early game. Obviously, she now scales better. She has more damage in her headshots. She has more damage in her ultimate. These tools do allow her to output DPS where she once might not have been able to. Less of a lane bully, more of a late game kind of caster mage, which can be kind of awkward to play against. Definitely, if she is hitting you with a Q and a headshot with a trap, that can feel really bad to play against. Yeah. But that is kind of Caitlyn's area at the moment. I know people have voiced their complaints about not seeing her as much of a lane bully, because people do kind of envision Caitlyn as being this lane bully, but for health purposes, it might be better that she is more of a late game champion, as having that much range in the early game can be really obnoxious to play against and unhealthy for like game states. So moving on, Yas is going to move up to the S tier. Yas is performing really well in the ADC role. He has always been someone who can match up against ADCs quite well. The champion has a win rule, which allows him to CS quite nicely. He has a large amount of gap closers with his E. Alongside this, he has decent range with his Q. He can harass people quite nicely with it. He has a passive shield, which can mitigate damage. And overall, all these systems just allow him to be quite healthy within the bot lane. Alongside this, he has decent scaling. He has a good early game. Kraken Slayer Spike can be really nice on him. Of course, you can opt into something like the Bork. And once you've done that, picking something up like an IE or a Gale Force can be a really nice round out to his build. Overall, yes, performing really well. Moving up to the S tier, very much deserving of this spot. I wanted to follow suit with the jungle tier list, where I had 3 champions in the S plus tier, which I really do recommend. And those are Vayne, Nida, and Ziggs. So Vayne performing really well at the moment, having access to the items like Static Shiv and Triforce fixes 2 of her core issues, which are wave clear and durability. You can also opt into something like the Stormrazor Essence Reaver Yomu's build, which is more of a one-shot roll around and just kind of move with the flow. Gives you a lot of movement speed, gives you a lot of damage, and yeah, gives you a lot of one-shot potential and assassin kind of nature within teamfight. So quite strong there. Nida is a good answer to a lot of ADCs. She can struggle into mages, obviously, as her W is not as effective against them. But for the most part, she can match almost every ADC. She does a huge amount of damage, has really good synergies with certain supports, the likes of Tarek, Senna. Both of these synergize really well with her. And overall, it puts her in a really good spot. Ziggs is someone who I also want to talk about. After we buffed the collision hitbox on his Q, he's definitely become a lot more reliable. And overall, when you make a mage, which kind of was the main weakness of them, was that unreliability, it makes him really strong. And Ziggs is definitely the best mage to play at the moment. He does a huge amount of damage, well, more consistent than he used to be. Good wave clear, good kind of map control with the R and the E, and overall just makes him a really powerful champion. Good scaling, not bad early game. Yeah. Other champs which we'll talk about, so MF is still really strong with the beautiful Yomu's and Collector combo. Ashe still really good because of Kraken Triforce. And as we go down the S tier, there are still a lot of good champions here. The one which I do want to move down though is Kog'Maw, just not performing to the same level as he used to. He still has decent pairings, but overall he just gets outshone by the S tier at the moment. And if you're going Bork Ginsu's, it's still not a bad combo, but yeah, a lot of the other champions do outshine Kog'Maw at the moment. And the other thing I want to change is I'm removing Yone. Yone at the time was seeing a rise in popularity, but still kind of faded away, so he no longer really gets a spot on the tier list. That is just how that is going to be. Overall, the other champ, which is kind of like close to the B tier at the moment, is Samira. Definitely struggling a lot more with the snowballing changes. And is a champion which really does require to snowball throughout the game to stay ahead and being able to get those ults stacked and then going so you can output a lot of DPS. Without that, she can struggle, but of course she can still, to a degree and a level, snowball, so it's not too bad. And yeah, the other champ, Kaiser, obviously. I keep this champion in the B tier at the moment. After the many rounds of nerfs, if you're not itemizing this champion correctly, she can really struggle in certain places, which is why she's a B tier. If you're itemizing the likes of Static Shiv and Stormrazor, then she will move back up towards the A tier. But for the most part, people are still itemizing Umbral Glaive in situations where they shouldn't. And they're still itemizing Kraken Slayer when it gets outperformed by the other 2 crit starters. So keep that in mind. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next one. Goodbye.